Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Weekly Orbit. I'm Pat with my co-host Whack from Rocket Fuel. This week's headlines for Rocket Pool, the week ending the 11th of May, 2023, include Gnosis proposes to diversify their treasury with rETH. Could this be a start of a trend? Marc Zeller from Aave working on Emode for rETH. And another lending platform has launched called Gravita, which will incorporate rETH from day one. In our new community corner, we're going to take a look at all the DeFi integrations that are currently available. All this, and of course, weekly stats. But first, Whack, I heard there's possibly a new mini Whack coming soon to the household.
Any day now, yeah. My wife is officially full-term today, 39 weeks. I'm sharing all my life information, so why not? But we had an appointment a few days ago, and the doctor said, like, be ready, you can literally come any minute. So
Wow.
we're just waiting now. Yeah, really excited.
So what the world really wants to know is, were you hoping for RPL tokens instead of diapers at the baby shower?
No, that's okay. Like, my RPL tokens are doing just fine the way they are. Like, let's leave some for baby, so
Sure.
he'll need those diapers.
Well, on behalf of everyone in the community, we hope you and Mrs. Whack have a big, healthy baby.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I'll let you all know as soon as he's coming. So you won't see me on Rocket Fuel for a few days. So that will give it away.
I'm sure there'll be a PO app waiting for you when you get back.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, like a diaper fund or something, maybe like a PO app checkout. Fizz is probably working on something. And if he's not, if he watches this, then Fizz, start working on something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm totally kidding. Yeah. But
Sure.
that's yeah, there's been PO apps before for people's families growing and stuff and getting married and stuff. It's really nice that the community cares so much about like looking out for each other. It's a really nice thing about this community. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, without further ado, let's get into your favorite thing to look over, and that's stats.
Yeah.
So for this week, we're going to look at Rocket Pool Explorer, and first at the deposits. And this morning we had a huge deposit, a glorious one of, I think, 5,080.
That's right.
Right here.
Right there. And since then, we've had another 500 one as well. And it's just been a really good day for deposits. We had a 1,000 deposit like overnight and like just lots and lots of like 100 plus deposits coming through. That day is like one of the best days ever. I think it's number 5 or number 6 best day ever for deposits. And there's still a few hours to go yet. So
oh yeah,
I'm really
absolutely.
excited to see.
We're recording this in the morning US time on May 12th. So we've still got most of the day to go. That perhaps we'll get a 10,000 ETH day. Well, who knows?
Well, yeah, there's a chance that we'll get a 10,000 ETH day today, but if not, I'm fairly sure that we're going to get that soon.
I saw yesterday that Lido had a 70,000 ETH deposit from a whale, and I was hoping at some point we're going to get that. But it's something worth talking about. It seems that there are still big hitters who are choosing Lido over rETH, perhaps for liquidity or other reasons.
Yeah, like the liquidity is definitely a big reason. Like they can just absorb so much more selling on the secondary market than we can without the same level of slippage. And that, for better or worse, people go towards that. Also, Lido are a much bigger name, like the much well-known name. So that identity, like that brand identity is still really important and really like big for them. Thankfully it's waning, but they can just absorb, right? Like there's no stopping that. Whereas for us, we kind of have to balance it with the node operator side. So there are a whole lot of like really cool people like cheering on for Rocket Pool though, and it's only a matter of time before that starts to get felt in the growth of the protocol.
Absolutely. The rest of the week, we've seen initially after Atlas, we were getting between 4,000 and 6,000 ETH per day. We started to wane down a little bit between 1,000 and 3,000. Today obviously being the outlier at 8,800. So we may see a little bump perhaps later this month after Lido, their V2 goes live, and we get some withdrawals coming from them. But we seem to be kind of plateauing down into a 4-digit. We're getting 4 digits of ETH every day, just about, and it just depends. You're gonna get between 1,000 and 3,000, and perhaps a big bump a day here, a day there.
Yeah, so this we're going to be talking about this a lot, like in the episode to come. But there's a few catalysts that can potentially drive some big deposits coming through. The first of those will be Lido withdrawals. So Lido are voting on their version 2 on the 15th, and then I think that vote will go through quite quickly. So they'll be enabling withdrawals. I'm not sure exactly when, but I think a few days after the 15th, maybe even on the 15th itself. So
Mhm.
once that happens, I really do think some ETH will flow pretty much right away. I don't know how much, and I don't want to put a number on it necessarily, but I think it'll be, well, I will put a number on it, but I'm totally willing to be like completely wrong about that. But I think we'll get like 30 to 50,000 ETH coming
Mhm.
from Lido in the first week. So I think, we should have a really good week next week. And then later on in the episode, we'll talk about some other really bullish catalysts that are coming
Sure.
up for deposit pool, like not for price,
Right.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and this reshuffling, it's going to take months, if not
Yeah,
a year, for it to all shake out. There's a lot of factors
absolutely.
that go into this. You're going to get initial bumps, but then, we'll see over time, is there going to be a slow bleed from Lido's
Hmm.
market share? I
Yeah,
expect there will be. It's just really hard to keep such a high market share over a long period of time when you have a lot of competitors, biting at your tail. So, um,
absolutely.
and then if we can move on to Maverick had a weekly update or biweekly update, and just a
Hmm.
couple of stats he shared. Our ETH supply, now this is, I think as of earlier this May 9th. So
Yeah.
this little outdated by now, May 12th, but our ETH supply grew around 20% at an annualized growth rate of 511%.
Yeah.
Active mini pool count grew 10.5%. For an annualized growth of 273%, and node operator count has grown 5% over the last 2 weeks, an annualized growth of 131%. So really excellent numbers. No matter how you look at it,
Yeah.
we're growing, and the bump after Alice is continuing.
It's amazing to see, right? Like the rETH number. If you go back to Rocket Scan, the first website that you were on, this is like the best website that you can have for all these numbers. If you scroll right to the top of this page, there's some really good information here about the rETH. Sorry, right to the top. If you keep going up, and then there's rETH tab next to deposit pool tab. So this will give you some really good information about how much rETH there is now. So now there's 313,000 rETH. So
Right.
just since Wednesday, we've gone up nearly 20,000, like just over 15,000 rETH.
Yep.
It's just non-stop. If you look at that chart there, the supply growth chart, it's just up and to the right.
Yeah, it's a
It's
hockey stick.
beautiful. It's literally like this is the beginning of the hockey stick. And I think that, for the next month or maybe 2 months, that hockey stick is going to keep going. There's a whole bunch of reasons why that will be the case. And I'm so excited about seeing that. So
Absolutely.
there's really, really good things happening. And it's a very, very exciting period to be in the Rocket Pool community and like attached to the Rocket Pool protocol.
So I'll go make my prediction.
Tell me.
Since you made one,
Yeah.
I'm going to say node operator count by the end of 2023 will
Hmm.
be at 3,500. Right now we're at 2,563.
Yeah.
So we would need to add close to 1,000 more node operators.
Mm.
Let's hope so. If we had, I think we started the year around 2,100 or so, or 2,000.
Yeah.
Right. So if we got up to 3,500, that'd be, over 100% growth for a year.
I'm
It's pretty
slightly
aggressive, but
I'm slightly pessimistic on that. I think 3,000 is a number that we'll finish the year at, or maybe
okay.
3,100. So
All
somewhere
right.
around there. Yeah.
All
But
right.
that's
We'll see.
still amazing because you have to remember, right, Pat, that every ETH that a node operator brings, we're able to get 3 rETH from that now instead of the one that we got before. So it's a multiplying effect of getting Rocket Pool to grow, and any node operator that comes in is going to be like invaluable, especially the bigger ones, because they'll be able to
Mhm.
move so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to Dr. Worm's Dune analytics board. Now, if you're
Yeah.
looking for anything analytics about Rocket Pool, this is your dashboard to check out. It's got everything on here. The RPL ETH ratio is down slightly from last week
Yeah.
at 0.0256. And one thing I noticed, Wack, I want to just touch on was I'm scrolling down to RPL collateral distribution. So this is
Yeah.
interesting for the listeners who can't see it. We've got a graph here showing the amount of RPL collateral And at the left end, we have a book. It kind of looks like bookends, because at the one end,
Mm.
we've got, folks who've got a low amount of RPL staked as part of their node. So 10, 15%, 20%. And at the other end, we've got those who are 150% or more. And in
Yeah.
between, we've got a whole bunch of people, but mostly we're seeing kind of a growth on the lower end. And that's to be expected as, folks are splitting their 16 ETH mini pools into 8 ETH. Those, you need more RPL collateral. It goes from
Yeah.
1.6 to 2.4. So you're kind of splitting it. And then also your new 8 ETH LEB operators, excuse me, they're smaller fish, and they're going to probably post with the minimum amount of collateral. So I think over time, we're going to see this trend towards the lower RPL collateral end, especially as those over 150% over time, hopefully RPL continues to grow, that they're going to be selling some of that. And I thought, just get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so there are a couple of really like interesting like games at play here with the distribution. So you have to remember that a whole bunch of people started staking with Rocket Pool when the ratio was a lot lower, right?
Right.
Like around mainnet launch, it was 0.012. It stayed there pretty much for over a year.
Mm.
So a lot of people that were, are under 50% collateral, sorry, or 75% collateral around those kind of numbers have actually gone above 150% now because of the ratio gains.
Right.
Another interesting thing to have a look at here as well is that when you look at collateral per node, then you see more on the lower end. But when you look at the collateral per mini pool, then it's kind of like a bipolar distribution here, where you have a whole lot at the minimum and pretty much an equal amount at the maximum.
Correct.
And I think the reason that what we can see with that is that the people with more mini pools have a higher collateral on average. So you get the whales, with like the more mini pools that they have, the more likely it is that they'll be going into the maximum collateral. People are trying to figure out like where they want their collateral to be, right? And I think that we as a community kind of have two groups: those who want to maximize their ETH and their ETH efficiency, so they want to take a smaller position in RPL as possible, and those who want to think that RPL is going to continue to outperform ETH, so they take the maximum effective collateral and that maximum effective position in RPL. So
Right.
it's really nice that the way that this is divided here,
Mm-hmm.
as RPL rewards go down, and as RPL headwind, like as the growth, people start to see that the possibility of growth starts to get smaller, then I think we'll see a lot of people exiting and re-entering with stronger ETH positions, because they'll be maximizing their ETH. But that is at least a year, if not a few years away,
Right.
from seeing how that goes. So it's really interesting to keep an eye on that though, and like try to infer what the markets are saying and what the community is thinking about ETH versus RPL. And what I can see here, just having a quick look at it, is like people are either very bullish ETH or very bullish RPL, and there's
Yeah.
very few people who are kind of blended in the middle.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. The one last stat we had for this week was we had our monthly smoothing pool distribution. And for if you're part of the smoothing pool as a node operator, every 28 days, you get a share of the MEV that is shared amongst all node operators who are in the pool. And this, on an absolute basis, this was the highest amount of ETH for the smoothing pool since its inception in September of 2022. Now, in terms of per validator, it was the second highest. I think it averaged around 0.03 ETH or something like that. But in any event, it was a great, with all the high gas fees on Ethereum. If you're a node operator, you are a beneficiary of that.
Absolutely. And the smoothing pool right now is the biggest it's ever been in terms of node operators and in terms of mini pools in the smoothing pool. So even though the absolute amount is higher, the reason why the reward is not the absolute highest is because that's being divided out by a bigger number of people.
Right.
And just having a look at the top mini pool node operators by mini pool numbers in the smoothing pool, it used to be that, Ken at 60 mini pools was the biggest for a while, and then Marceau at like 175 became the biggest. But now we have a whole bunch of people in like the upper 200s that are joining and like, really dividing out that smoothing pool by more. But then of course the chances of getting a lottery block go higher as well. So
Sure.
it's really great. Like
Yeah.
it's a wonderful dynamic, and I think most people are happy to be in the smoothing pool. And the only people who are unhappy are those who've had to put in big lottery blocks into the smoothing
Yeah.
pool, sadly for them. But otherwise, it's a huge success, and
It
the
is.
protocol adoption's been really great for it.
I've heard like solo validators saying, "Man, I wish there was a way we could have a smoothing pool among solo validators because
Yeah.
it's such just like a little monthly bonus. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
every 28 days you get a little extra ETH
Yeah.
with no extra work. It's just
Yeah.
it's like little whipped cream on top of the cupcake. You know, it's
Well,
great.
it's actually a lot more than that. Like it's reaching the point where it's actually like a big chunk of the cupcake, because on Ethereum rewards are around 3.5%, and this last month you've been getting another like 3 to 3.5% in terms of MEV reward. So it's basically just as big as the main
Yeah,
staking
good point.
rewards. So if you are a solo staker and you have one validator, you could potentially go 3 4 months without any blocks. At which point, you're seeing your APR being half of what someone in the smoothing pool is getting. So there's
Sure.
a big difference there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you hit the lottery,
Well, you can
good.
hit the lot.
But the chance
Yeah,
of you hitting the lottery are pretty low.
of course.
And
Yeah.
Ken from the community, he did a excellent analysis of that back in the fall. He
Hmm.
published a white paper, which the conclusion was essentially just about everyone would benefit from being in this smoothing pool. And this year,
Yeah.
I can't remember but if you had thousands of validators, perhaps it's better to be on your own. But
Yeah. So
just
the
about
the number
everyone
that
else.
yeah, the information that he realized was that if you have more validators than there are in the smoothing pool, then it's better for you to be out of the smoothing pool.
Yeah.
But like the smoothing pool now is I think 11,000 or 13,000
Yeah.
mini pools. So yeah, I'd like there to be a whale who comes along and is more than that and
I
joins.
know.
That would be really
Well,
nice.
perhaps. Well, that
Yeah.
brings us to our headlines, and our first is with Gnosis DAO. They've got a proposal to commit additional rETH to their treasury operation. So
Yep.
this is a broader discussion, and I think it makes sense. I think Marceau, he tweeted this out this week about this makes a lot of sense from a risk analysis. If you're a DAO, you want to diversify your treasury, right? So if you're sitting on ETH, you're sitting on maybe some ST ETH, it makes sense to diversify into rETH. And
Yep.
I'm wondering, are we going to start seeing more of that as the months go along, that you're going to have places like Gnosis and others diversifying and buying up thousands of rETH?
Yeah. Like I've literally had conversations with people who are in positions of controlling treasuries, and they realize, right, that just having ETH sat there, you're leaving money on the table by not going into an LST. And 6 7% right now, like we were just talking about a minute ago, that is a considerable amount of money when you look at the size of some of these treasuries. Like Gnosis here have 65,000 ETH. That's what this proposal is, to move 65,000 ETH into well, actually they have ST ETH and moving 64,124 of that into rETH. So that would be amazing, right? But like there's
Yeah,
some treasuries out there who just have pure ETH, and they're leaving all that money on the table by not having a productive asset under it. Like,
absolutely.
of course, you take on smart contract risk that comes with being in a LST instead of being in pure ETH. But after a certain point, like you have to realize that that amount that could be coming in for you like every month or year, or however you want to like sell your LST, that could fund the whole of the DAO, right? Like it could
Absolutely.
do like really amazing stuff. So
Yeah.
that is something that I think treasuries are going to start taking notice of. In this section, I really want to give a huge shout out to Dr. Doofus, who is leading like the community's efforts towards getting people to reach out to DAOs and gathering the information in a centralized place so we don't duplicate our efforts and all that kind of stuff. There's a Google Doc, if you reach out to him, that he can share with you that if you do reach out to any DAOs, then let him know, and he will put that on there. So like I said, we're not duplicating any of our efforts, but this is really great. And there's other treasuries as well who are talking about converting to rETH, and
Yeah,
that's what we need, right? Like we've
absolutely.
got a huge capacity to absorb rETH right now,
Right.
and we've got mini pool that's waiting, so that would really help us a lot.
Yeah, in which, we didn't have a huge before when the deposit pool was limited, I think it was at
Yeah.
2,000 and then I went up to 5,000.
Mhm.
If you're a treasury like Gnosis and you're sitting on tens of thousands, it just doesn't make sense. But now we've got that capacity.
Mhm.
And yeah,
Yeah,
I think
no,
we're going to see this as a trend.
Gnosis could come in right now and convert all 64,000 wrapped wrapped ST ETH into rETH in one go.
Yeah,
Or basically, they'd have to convert it to ETH and then bring it to the deposit pool and just use the deposit pool contracts to convert it into rETH in one transaction.
right.
It's just an amazing capacity that we have for doing that right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know our second headline, and this goes to, actually it dovetails into some of your extra work you've been doing this week,
Yeah.
with, I'm going to stop sharing for a second and then reshare
Yeah.
with Marc Zeller. Okay.
Yeah.
And Marc was um, a guest on you did an in-depth interview with Marc, and Marc's
Yeah.
from Aave.
Yeah.
And maybe you could tell us a little bit more. He's working on an Emode proposal.
Mhm.
And why don't you tell us what that would mean for our ETH?
Yeah, so Marc, it's really interesting the way this happened, right? So I started retweeting Marc's stuff a couple of months ago. Not retweeting necessarily, but like putting it in Rocket Fuel, because that's when Marc started to incorporate rETH into Aave's borrowing lending. What happens is with Aave, you can deposit your rETH and get ETH in return. And at the moment, the um, for everyone, like let's just say, like Marc as well, we were talking about this in the call, is like let's just call it 1-to-1, right? Even though it's not 1-to-1. So if you deposit one rETH into Aave now, you can get 0.65 or 0.7, something along those numbers of ETH back for that. And then you can kind of like loop that and like kind of 2 times your rewards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once they incorporated our ETH after the Chainlink Oracle went live, this was really exciting because it was another avenue which like our ETH could be useful. So people started using it. Right now, there's around 13,000 rETH in the Aave in their ecosystem, and they have a cap at 20,000. So it's not full, but it's not insignificant. They made some good money from that, so that's going well. So a few months ago, maybe 6-8 weeks ago, Marc started talking about Emode for our ETH. Now, Emode is efficiency mode for borrowing and lending, and this is really used for pairs of tokens that are very closely correlated in price.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is that as the price of those two tokens like kind of move together, the underlying relationship kind of stays the same. And that's what they take advantage of within Emode. So instead of one rETH giving you 0.65 or 0.7 ETH, whatever their current status is, you can use one rETH to get 0.9 ETH in return, which means that that folding that you can do, that loop that you can do, it's called hyperstaking, folding, looping. It's got loads of different names, but the action is you deposit your rETH into Aave, they give you ETH back. You take that ETH to the deposit pool, the Rocket Pool deposit pool, you convert it to rETH, then you take it back to Aave, get ETH again, and you do that over and over again. And the more times you do it, the riskier it is in terms of that peg deviation, and you can lead to liquidation. However, it seems like because of withdrawals and because of how the peg can be defended now, the price peg between ETH and rETH can be defended now, that the likelihood of that deviating too much is lower, which
Mm-hmm.
means that they can now activate Emode for rETH, and that will mean you can outsize, like your returns can be massively outsized. So as you borrow the ETH from Aave, right now their interest rate that you pay on that ETH is 3.6%. However, the rewards rate that you're getting from Rocket Pool is closer to 7%. So each time you do it, you're pocketing that difference of like 2+%. So if you go full degen mode, you can maybe 3x your staking returns up to 20+%. They are in the process of also doing something called parameter changes for rETH and other looping to move it up to 95% efficiency instead of 90% efficiency, which will then let you loop it 20 times. And
That's really degen.
yeah, that's really degen, right? That's really,
Yeah.
really degen because any slippage, basically, that's like more than a percent or 2%, which means your whole position will get liquidated.
Right.
And of course, you don't want that to happen. But maybe, like, and this is not financial advice, of course, like everything in this video, there's no financial advice here. People would be able to do it a couple of times and be okay, I think.
Yeah. This was
Yeah.
one of the major catalysts for ST-ETH adoption was, this whole
Yeah.
this folding mechanism that you're
Yeah.
talking of.
So
And
Marc in the episode like was amazing. Like I've been like talking about this episode nonstop since it came out yesterday. Yeah, here's the thing. So
yeah,
Marc's story, first of all, is really fascinating, and that's the first 45 minutes of the call, of the interview, like conversation, whatever you want to call it. And then the second half of the talk was where some really, really cool pieces of information came out. Some of those were like related to Marc's like ethos and how that's aligned with Ethereum. Marc, openly said that he will champion Rocket Pool until it reaches 20% of the protocol.
crazy.
And, he's happy to integrate in all these really cool ways. He's happy to integrate it into layer twos on, they've got a proposal right now for integrating rETH on Arbitrum. If you go back to the previous tweet, here he's mentioning a way that people can stake their ETH with Rocket Pool, in a way that makes them neutral on RPL. So you will deposit your rETH into Rocket Pool, into Aave, and they will give you ETH and RPL in return, enough to spin up a validator on Rocket Pool, and
Right.
then the rewards that you get will kind of repay your loan. And here, this way, like you don't have to own any RPL in order to be staking on Rocket Pool. So these are the kind of things that he's doing that like are just amazing, like really, really amazing. There's a slight misunderstanding with that top tweet of his. So people were kind of like giving him information in the replies about how it doesn't, like, you can't loop that process in the same way that you can with like rETH. Another thing is, if you scroll down, there's a tweet from Maso. If you keep going down a little bit, if you click on the show, scroll up a little bit. No, like it's just a little bit slower. If you say, there's a tweet from Marc there, but if you can say, sorry, scroll down a little bit. Yeah, just show replies. But I think, no, it's the next one or the one after that. Yeah, this one. No, this one after that. Sorry. Yeah, here. Then scroll down a bit more. There's a tweet here from Marceau that you can see.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Marceau is,
Yes.
one of the bigger holders of the RPL token, and he said that he would personally populate their RPL pool with RPL to be made for stakers in this process. So the community is totally aligned with what's going on over here with Aave. I'm not going to give too much away about the call, but Marc seems to think that he gave a date for when he thinks Emode will be activated. He said the date is May 22nd, and
Wow.
that if it's not done by then start bothering him. Like I told you, right now they have about 13,000 rETH in their contract. As Emode approval goes through, that will automatically be increased to 40,000 rETH cap.
Amazing.
Marc said in the episode that he thinks that cap will be maxed in one day. So on the day that Emode goes live, he thinks that cap will be hit, at which point Aave community will vote on increasing the cap, which will then increase it from 40,000 to 80,000. And he thinks that will also be filled very, very quickly. So we're right, just with the stuff that Aave is doing in the next few weeks, we'll be in a position of maybe minting another 70,000 rETH right there.
Sure.
So this is the kind of thing,
Awesome.
there's all these different things that are happening that are extremely bullish for Rocket Pool.
Absolutely. And to catch more of that interview, click on Launchpad. That's Wax, periodic deep dive with members of the community, and it's really worth a listen. So take a listen for Marc's episode. and you
Yeah.
find out more about what Marc's just been talking about. Moving on to our final headline was another lending protocol, Gravita, is launching, and our ETH as a collateral type is going to be supported from day one.
Yeah.
And now the unique thing with Gravita, I believe, Whack, is that you're going to be able to borrow interest-free using our ETH. Okay, they take like a base fee percentage, but instead of being charged a normal interest rate like you would be if you lend, or you borrowed ETH, it's like the yield on the rETH will pay the interest on your loan or something. I'm not a DeFi connoisseur, but it's just another unique way of supporting rETH. And you did another deep dive episode with rETH from rep ship from the Gravita protocol.
Yeah, so this was another great interview that I was so happy with, like the stuff that I learned over the course of the interview, the conversation with the rETH. So the way that it works is Gravita will start with a basket of LSTs that you can use as collateral for a US stablecoin loan. Of course, it's risky because as the price goes down, these are not on peg. So as the price goes down, the chance of you getting liquidated higher than on some of those Aave things we were just talking about. So there is definitely a possibility of getting liquidated here. So please keep that in mind before you interact with any borrowing lending protocol. So the way that Gravita is working is there will be a maximum interest charge of 0.5%, and you could take that over the period of decades. So as long as the protocol is alive, that is all that you will pay. And it's based on it's a friendly fork of Liquidity. Liquidity charge that 0.5% upon conversion from your ETH to LUSD, which is their stable coin. With Gravita, they'll be taking out that 0.5% over the course of 6 months. So if your loan period is less than a week, then you pay no interest. However, as you go across those 6 months, you'll pay that 0.5%, which is a 1% annualized. But if you are taking a longer term loan, then you can pay 0.5% basically. So what some of the examples that came up in this call were that you could potentially take, put in 2 million ETH, $2 million worth of ETH, right? US dollars worth of ETH. To be safe, you 500,000 out of that as a loan. So your ETH is now collateral. Of course, this is at the moment, the way it's set up is open for a specific kind of people that might not be some of our listeners. And, I'm sorry about that, but you can take basically a loan. The more collateral you provide for the smaller amount of a loan, the more stable it is and the less likely you are to get liquidated. Now, what you can do with that money then is you can convert that to USDC and convert it to US dollars, and you can go buy a house with that. Now, on that repayment, you will be paying that fixed 0.5% one-time fee forever for the duration of the loan. It's not like your bank charging you like 6-7% every year. It's just that one thing. So instead of paying your bank back every month, what you'll do is you get your USD, put it into Coinbase or whatever your fiat on-ramp is, convert that to Gravita's GRI, which is their stable coin, and then pay back your loan. You can pay that back over the course of years and get your ETH collateral that you put in initially back. So it's an absolutely amazing tool. There are ways of using this, play DeFi games that are more degen, but that then becomes risky because of the asset type. But it's an amazing tool that the team have developed here, Gravita, and I've been talking about it at Rocket Fuel an awful lot. And rETH was really great at explaining what they've done and how it's all working and how it's going to work, and some examples of that as well. So that was really enjoyable to listen to, and it blew my mind. Both of them did.
These will be in the show notes, folks. So click on Launchpad, listen to the in-depth with rETH, and get more information on Gravita. And so our final community corner, I like to call it, because we on the Weekly Orbit like to focus on members of the community who are volunteering their time to furthering the protocol. And this is with this week, I was thinking of all the, you got Gravita, you got Aave, you got in more recent weeks, Silo, and there's so many that I was losing track
of.
Yeah. And there is a one-stop shop to find out where can I use RPL or rETH in DeFi protocols. And I believe Valdor from the community he's pioneered this, and among others in the protocol in the community. And so this will be in the show notes. And if you're looking, you're just wondering, where can I, I got this rETH that's just sitting in my wallet. Can I do something with it? Well, yeah, you can. And this will walk you through different protocols you can utilize, and it's updated on a regular basis, along with APR. What would you get for yield? Is it on mainnet? Is it on Optimism, L2s? This is good, and this list keeps getting longer and longer and longer. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would recommend you bookmark this and occasionally take a look at it, because you'll see that, especially on the L2s, Optimism, Arbitrum, you're getting more and more protocols that are popping up that are utilizing rETH. So it's all great. Continuing, and we can now add Gravita to this list, and there'll be others, I'm sure, going forward.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And like Val has spent a lot of time keeping this list up to date and going, and the GMC gives him a grant for maintaining this as well, which is wonderful. Val is always looking for people to help him with this. So if you are interested in like tracking all the information here, then please reach out to Val, and he will be happy to share that grant with you, or as a bounty. I'm not sure exactly, but one of those two. He'll be happy to share some of that amount with you if you help him keep this up to date. This sheet is updated every 2 weeks, and it has the information there. Look, it was updated on May 8th, so you'll be getting another update on like in about a week and a half's time to get all those numbers. Just looking at some of those APRs, like you can get some really, really big rewards already. Like hyperstaking on Silo can give you up to 35% rewards in your rETH. And of course, there's balancer positions and others. And depending, like there's a whole suite of like flavors for your degenness that you can get. Like some are of course a lot more risky, and then the rewards are a lot higher. Then some of those balancer Beethoven pools are safer, like comparatively speaking. And then those kind of still get 9% on your ETH, which is an amazing return for
Sure.
that. So there's some really, really good tools out there, and this will help you navigate those. So thanks to Val and the people who have helped him maintain this and keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. So that wraps up this week's Weekly Orbit. A couple little tidbits. We are now on your favorite podcasts. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. So if you like to listen while you're working out, or driving your car, we're available. And of course, none of this has been financial advice, technical, professional, tax, none of it. It's just two guys talking crypto.
Yeah.
And Whack, it's good to see you again. And I wish you and your family the best. And
thank you so much.
We'll have a little mini Whack, another one.
you might have to find an alternate co-host for next week, but let me know, and well, I might be around. We'll see. But
see.
There's a possibility. But
okay.
Yeah, thank you again for having me here, and thank you for the well wishes, and I'll see you next week.
Take care, Whack.
Bye.